So hi, welcome to the Noise Podcast. I'm Shane.
I'm Glory.
And we're here with
Joe from Capstan.
And we're going to ask them some questions today. I'm going to start. So what inspired you guys to start the band, and what does the band name mean?
Anthony and Harry actually met in school, our singer and our other guitarist. They were both in school for audio engineering, and that's where they started the project. They both went to Full Sail, and they got the name from a capstan is the device that winds the tape on like an old school tape recording machine. So they just thought that was cool and decided to name the project that.
Okay.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's really cool. So congratulations on your upcoming release, Separate. How do you feel the response to the announcement so far?
It's been great so far, and thank you. Yeah, it's definitely been better than I even expected. Like I know things have gone pretty well with like the pre-orders and the vinyl and all that. People seem to be really responding well to the first track that we released so far. So I'm really excited to, see what happens as we start releasing the rest of the songs in the record.
We had chatted about the single when it came out on our show, and Gloria and I were both like, holy shit, this is really good. And I listened to the record today, and that first song completely blew me away. I was, holy fuck.
I didn't expect it at all.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Thank you.
I very much enjoyed the record, and I'm very pissed off that such a good record was sent to us a month and a half early, so I have to wait for it to hit streaming.
To rave about it. Yeah. Can't ruin it.
So speaking of that single, what made you guys choose Shades of Us as the lead single?
So since that song had been written, most of us in the band and like our manager, Jesse, and, a couple of the really close friends that we had shown it to, everybody kind of thought that was, maybe the strongest track. It kind of just stood out a little bit to everybody. Not to say that we don't think every track is very strong, because that was like a goal for the whole record, was like try to make a record of all bangers. But yeah, we all thought that it sort of maybe best represented some of the shift of our sound a little bit, even though I feel like this record still very much sounds like us. It is also a little different in some ways. But yeah, so we thought that it was a good fit for the first single.
Okay.
Definitely. All right. So you guys actually have a handful of features on this record. What was it like working with everybody, and how did those come together?
Yeah, so that part is something else that's really exciting about this record for me, because it's something we've always like talked about, and we've never like, had the chance to like work with some other cool artists on a record like this. And yeah, the big one for me that was like a childhood dream come true was like having Shane from Silverstein on a song. So yeah, very, very pumped about that. Like the other features too are absolutely amazing. So Saxel Rose, the saxophonist, has a feature in one of the songs as well. And then a good friend of ours, everybody in the band, who actually I believe you have interviewed before.
We love Charlene, yeah.
We love Charlene, yeah.
She's amazing. She says hi, by the way.
Hi, Charlene.
Hi, Charlene.
Yeah, having her on that, because that track originally we weren't entirely sure. She had like sung it as a demo for us, and then we just loved it so much. We're like, you need to be the person who's on this track. And but yeah, doing features like that, it really it adds a little bit of extra flavor on the record, getting a different type of sound on there, and we're very happy with all of them. And like I said, can't wait to share those tracks when they come out soon. So
Oh yeah. Will either of those be a single? Are we allowed to ask that?
I don't know if I can give that away, but
Come on.
how about this? One of them will be. Which one? I don't know.
I'm just going to take a wild stab and say it's the one with Shane, but if management hears that...
No, you didn't.
No.
I didn't give it away.
Yeah, it wasn't given
That
away.
wasn't
I'm
you.
just guessing.
Yeah.
But when I saw that... I was just
sorry.
going to say something about the features. Yeah, when I saw that that Charlene and Shane were on the album, I was like, holy shit, wait, that's my friend. And also, wait, that's one of my favorite bands right there on this record. And I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. So...
Yeah, very stoked on those. So.
So you mentioned that Charlene actually kind of gave you guys the demo for that song, then you guys invited her to play on the track. Was that everybody? Did everybody kind of write their own parts for the song, or did you reach out to say, "Hey, we have this part in the song, we want you to do it," or how did that work?
Yeah, very much. Yeah, like what you said there. So it was like, so I actually am like pretty much, I for this record especially, I kind of definitely took the role as songwriter, and I wrote like all the lyrics, all the melodies, all the instruments, and all that stuff. And I had written all of her parts with like that song originally was like written in mind as being a duet, and I had all like the melody and everything written out, and we, you know, seeing that she's worked with Harry a lot on her own music, who Harry, you know, he does audio engineering stuff on the side. You know, she was somebody we knew that, you know, had a great voice, and like we demo very thoroughly, and so we really wanted to hear like more or less a complete idea before we moved on with it. And so yeah, it was all written out, and then we had her just come like lay down you know, some demo vocals, and then it actually worked out really well because when we were in the studio in Texas, she also happened to be in Texas, in Houston. So when we finally decided, like, yeah, like, it needs to be Charlene on the record, and then invited her over. She drove from Houston to Austin, and really worked out very well. But yeah, it was when it comes to the writing thing, like that's primarily all like just me kind of, and then the other guys kind of help produce the record, I would say. You know, they kind of think of the ideas, all the flavor, add on top here and there, and just like make it more of a fleshed out product. So
okay, that makes sense.
So is there any meaning behind the album name or the cover art?
Yeah, so the album name, we wanted something, I wanted something specifically like intentionally vague. So like, first of all, you could say it one of two ways to begin with. It could be separate or separate, right? And then we thought that was kind of an interesting take on it, but that word can be vaguely used to sort of define a lot of the themes on the record, like a sense of isolation or being split from yourself or the people you love, and you know that was a huge part of the lyrical themes of everything. So we thought that was like, you know, kind of like a cool vague way that you could apply the title to like a bunch of the different tracks. So yeah, that's kind of where the name came from. As for the album art, we worked with an artist. We took I mean, if you couldn't tell, we took a kind of a change of direction from our previous album covers. Like, it's collage art, and it's not like super meticulously detailed, like, you know, pencil drawing and stuff, like how we had some of our previous art. But we worked with an artist his name is, I believe it's Connor, but it's Fib Stuff on Instagram. And he's a very, very talented collage artist, and we all loved his art. And we sent him the record, and we were like, hey, here are the lyrics, here's the name, here's what we're thinking, like what the record means. Like, can you see if this speaks to you at all, and if you can like come up with some art that kind of you think visualizes that. And he sent us that cover, and we were like, we love this. Yeah. So yeah, that's it kind of an interesting way to do it, because we hadn't done something like that before. Like we had like kind of basic ideas, and then we just like contact an artist, and they, you know, draw something really beautiful, obviously. And we love all our old covers, but like this one, we feel like even though it's not a crazy specific piece of art, we feel like it really does capture a lot of the feeling of the record. So yeah, we're very excited on that too.
Okay.
That's good. That's good. I love when bands give like artists that they commission to make the art like complete creative freedom when they do it. Basically just, here's the album, do what you want with it. Will you guys be doing that again for your cover art? Are you like hooked on that now, or do you think you're going to go back to like the hand painted, just whatever,
Yeah.
you know?
No, I think it's awesome too. I'm really happy. Like I couldn't be more happy with like telling this artist like here, like knock yourself out, do what you want, and then getting something back that we love so much. So yeah, I definitely in the future I see us doing that more.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's definitely a really cool like kind of idea. So
Solid. All right. So can you tell me a little bit about your writing process for this record?
yeah, so I had already started writing some of the instrumental stuff before COVID started. Like I'd write a little bit on the road and a lot like when we were off the road, when we were back home in between tours. And then we were 3 days into a tour when that got canceled due to COVID. And then as soon as we got back, we we're like, well, we should utilize this time and go as hard as we can on the writing thing. So yeah, we basically, so how it would work is like, because Harry is an audio engineer and he had like a home studio that we kind of demoed out of, and I kind of went into what the guys called insanity mode, like because I was writing, like I would wake up probably like 7 a.m, start writing until like noon, like every day we were meeting up, and then we meet up from like noon to 7 p.m. and I'd go home and I'd like write some more and then like wake up and do it all over again. And like I'd bring in a bunch of ideas, and then we ended up demoing a lot of songs on this record that we didn't end up using. And that itself was a little bit of a different thing for us because we had never cut so much material, like not even close before. Like that was a big part of what, in our opinion, makes this record so much better than some of the other ones, is that we cut probably as many songs as we ended up with. So like there were, and not even songs that got cut, but like half of the songs, a lot of the parts like were completely different. So like we cut probably 10 songs, and in addition to that, like some of the songs that are left on the record, like you had mentioned that first track, like the only part of that first track that's like the same as when I started writing it is like the chorus. Like all the verse parts, like everything like ended up changing more and more over time. So that was a little different. And then the other thing, so like this was the first record where I ended up writing like all of the lyrics. So on like Restless Heart, our last full length, it was probably an even 3-way split between Harry, Boz, and myself, all writing like, a third of the lyrics. And then we would sort of like, just we'd be like, oh, we have these lines, let's put it over this music. Like I was still writing all the instrumentals, but with this one, I took a different approach, and I started just like writing choruses first, and I started by writing like melody first, and then like kind of fitting lyrics over the top of them, and I think that kind of really helped a lot to make the choruses pop a little bit better. So yeah, we put in months and months because we didn't finish until probably October. So we did like 6 solid months of like demoing every day, like a full-time job, cutting lots of songs, like thinking of just every day, like what can we add to this? What can we do to make it a little different but still like us? And yeah, if obviously COVID was a terrible thing, and is so terrible, so unfortunate, and like but for us, like if we hadn't been forced to stay home and not tour, like we never would have been able to write this record. So it is, terrible as it is for everybody, there was definitely a silver lining to it for us. So yeah, that's kind of how this all went down.
Yeah.
Solid. Wow. Wait, so you mentioned 10 songs got cut. Will those ever see the light of day, or were they just kind of demos?
So some of them may, because there are like 2 or 3 of them that we still really like. So there may be B-sides in the future. But as of right now, they're not recorded, but we don't want to let them just go to waste. So there might be.
Okay.
All right.
So I want you to pick your favorite lyric off this album and tell us the meaning behind it.
Ooh. Yeah, all right. So I don't have like a specific favorite lyric, and I feel like I since the record's not out yet, I feel like I can't share a lot of that yet. Let me just say a song as a whole.
Okay.
And this song, when is this airing?
Next couple of weeks, I would think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, this song's already going to be out by then. Okay. So then the second single is it's called "Take My Breath Away" Noose. That track is one of the songs I'm most lyrically proud of because it's like it's kind of just has an overall theme to it, and I really like there's like a lot of like contrasting sort of wordplay, and I'm very much proud of that one. Not only for the lyrics, but just the song as a whole. It was like an experiment in writing something for me, and I'm very happy. Though it's very different from a lot of Capstan previous to it. Yeah, those are some of my favorite lyrics that I wrote. So.
Hell yeah.
Solid. All right. So what song off this record took the longest to write?
Okay, that's a good question. I would say, honestly, the song I was just talking about took the longest to write because It was, I started writing that song actually before the whole writing process that I was just talking about. So some of the instrumental to that, actually most of the instrumental was written probably in like January, by January of 2020. So before we went on our last tour that got canceled.
Yeah.
But what took me the chorus came along pretty quickly, but like writing like all the verse parts and then the bridge was like the biggest headache. Like there were so many different things that happened in that bridge at one point until like finally settled on where it is now. So that one definitely took the longest to write, just because like being so different, like we all wanted it to be perfect too, like because you know when you're trying something new, you gotta make it right, like you can't be like, oh, they tried to do something adventurous and they half-assed it, like
exactly.
So that one definitely probably saw the most amount of work.
Okay.
All right.
So as you keep on mentioning, you guys had embarked on tour right before the world ended. What was it like trying to scramble home? Because obviously we've never experienced that before, and we ask it to every single band that was on the road during that time.
Yeah, yeah, that part was terrible, especially like considering. So I mean, we're from Florida, and the band we were touring with is from the Midwest. So like we drove all the way to Madison, Wisconsin. And then we played those 3 shows. It was like, if you can imagine driving from Florida all the way to the Midwest to play a weekend here.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was definitely really weird too, because like a bunch of tours were already dropping. Like I remember the day before we played the last show, we saw like all these tours getting canceled. We're like, oh, our tour is going to get canceled. And the last show we did play was like the tickets had all sold out, but like maybe 20% of the people showed up because people were starting to freak out.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, it was like, there was like nobody there. It was supposed to be a sold out show. That was weird. It definitely weird energy. And then canceled, and then drove back to Florida.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I looked it up because you did cut out when you had mentioned it the first time, and I wanted to make sure the tour had started. I was supposed to see you guys on that tour, and I remember talking to my mom like, I think it's gonna happen, because you guys just kept on playing, and you guys were one of the last bands out on the road kind of playing shows, and I was like, I think they're just gonna fucking do it. They're just gonna say fuck it and do it, and then obviously you guys couldn't.
So hopefully when the world opens back up, you can see them.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah.
It's coming.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Any day now.
Being announced. Yeah. Drop the dates. All right. So can you tell us where your headspace was at while you were creating this record?
Yeah, I mean, to be totally honest with you, because it's like a huge part of the record, very depressed. So like that's like one of the big themes on the record too, or at least like several songs are pretty much just about that. And yeah, having toured like full time up until COVID started, I was almost ready for a break. I was like, man, we get to go home and chill. Man, I regret thinking that. I didn't realize really, truly how much I loved it and how much it meant to me until like that we were forced to stay home.
Yeah.
And then, you know, losing that fulfillment that I had from being on the road. Being stuck at home with my now ex-wife, who another one of the other largest lyrical themes of the record is like, you know, my relationship, which was on its way out, and you know, coming to the realization that it wasn't going to work long term, and dealing with that in addition to just being so incredibly depressed. That's really but that's what gave me the inspiration to, you know, start finding my voice more and writing the lyrics the way that I did. It was extremely cathartic, and it allowed me to, because I'm a very like stereotypical Irish Catholic raised type person, and I don't like talk about my feelings. And like the first time I was ever able to really express how I felt about it before I told anybody, like my best friends or anybody at all, was just writing the words down as lyrics. And then that eventually led to me being able to, you know, make the changes in my life that I needed to. But yeah, it was all a big just sort of, you know, release, and just letting all that out, and you know, letting my feelings out on paper. So
well, made for a pretty damn good record. So
thank you.
So what band or artist influence you think you can hear the most on this album?
Good question. You know, I guess it's hard for me to say, because it's so hard to judge your own music that way. Like I feel like I hear certain influences, but then like nobody ever says them when they're comparing us to other bands, or like they're the influences that people like pick up on. I feel like I'm like, I don't see that, but okay. Like yeah, I don't know. I guess kind of a lot of the bands in more of the sort of metalcore, but kind of like post-hardcore, like newer genre. Like I don't know. I feel like I can hear the influence from bands like Architects and stuff like that.
I heard that, definitely.
Yeah, that's definitely like that. Like bands like that are kind of like a big one for me, or like it kind of all in that vein. Like especially with structure and like the balance of like riffs and choruses still. So yeah, kind of, you know, stuff like that. But also still some of the like the big emo influences. Like I'm a big fan of like I'm a massive MCR fan. Like
as you should be.
I love like emo music and stuff like that too, as much as I love like techie, like metalcore and stuff like that. So like I feel like you can kind of hear some of that too still. So
Right. What's your favorite My Chem album?
Oh, it's okay. So I've got a Black Parade tattoo.
Shut up! That's so cool.
It's definitely that.
Okay.
All right.
Taste. It's a very good album.
I respect it.
So this one should be super, super quick. Off the top of your head, I want you to describe this record for new listeners in 3 words. Come on.
Emotional. Honest.
All right.
This is one hyphenated word. Quasi-technical. I'm partially technical.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good. Glad you got it.
So in that same train of thought, but not nearly as high stress, is there a certain feeling you want your listeners to have while going through the album?
Yeah, I want you to cry. No, I'm just kidding.
Just being honest.
No, yeah, all right, that was more honest than I'd like to admit. But,
It's fair.
no,
It's fair.
because like, honestly, the music that always has helped me the most is like not music that is like, let me cheer you up. It's music that's like, man, I'm so sad. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I like bands that, you know, write songs that you can tell like that there's a lot of pain there. There's a lot of like turmoil inside, like that kind of stuff. Knowing that other people feel the way that I feel, that is like a really comforting idea. So like I hope that even though like this record and a lot of my lyrics could be considered like kind of, I mean, somewhat negative, definitely depressive, like I still like to think that there are people who can listen to that and relate to it and be like, well, I know I'm not the only one who feels like this, and like that makes me feel a little better at least. So like I don't know, that's kind of where that's what I think about when I write lyrics. So
All right, that's fair. So where do you see the band in the next 5 years?
Hopefully just continuing to grow. Hopefully not stuck at home in a quarantine.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, yeah, that's good.
So yeah, you know, just continuing to make the kind of music that we want to make that hopefully resonates with people and people can relate to, and you know, just don't stop growing, and just you know, put in the time, put in the hours, get on the road, and you know, get out there and you know, see the fans, and yeah, I don't know.
All right.
Yeah, that sounds good. That's good.
So for the last couple questions, we're actually going to shift away from music and go straight to death row.
Boom.
So if you're on death row, what would your last meal be with a drink?
Last meal, you know what, probably just a hot dog, you know, nothing. No.
Hot dog, a single hot dog.
No, I'm just kidding. That was
okay, good.
Yeah, I don't know, probably something generic like a steak or something stupid like that. I don't know.
Okay.
But for drink, it would definitely be like a fancy glass of scotch, like some Macallan 16 years, something like that.
All right.
You can keep the food, honestly. I'm about to die.
Scotch, yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's fine. So if you could live in one fictional world for a week, where would you live?
I don't know. Probably like Narnia or something like
true.
that. I don't know.
All right. Narnia's good. So I have the honor of asking the last question, and every single person that we've spoken to have said that it is the most important question. What's your favorite color?
Green.
Specific shade of green.
It sounded like a question.
Yeah.
Are you sure it's green?
It's a tie between green and blue. So maybe I'll just go for something in between and say like teal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So I can respect that.
So as I said, that's all the questions we have today. Is there anything that you would like to plug?
No, other than Separate is coming out July 23rd. But hopefully you know that by now. If you're listening to this, definitely go check out the record when it comes out.
All right. Well, thank you for now. This has been Joe from Capstan, and we're the Good Noise Podcast.